Hello, my name is Michael Duren. I live in Valdosta, Georgia, and this is my story. I grew up in South Georgia and had kind of like a typical South Georgia childhood. I went to school in Albany, Georgia, and then me and my family moved to Adel when I got to middle school. Going to Adel was a big jump because it was a lot smaller town, and in Adel there was not as much to do, so I started getting involved in music when I think I was like in high school. Me and my friends got involved and started making a band and started making music. And then we started doing some shows and things like that. Whenever I went to college, I moved back to Albany, Georgia. I went to college originally for theater at Duren College. And I went through the program. I got significant way through it, and then I started thinking, what am I really going to do with a theater program? I grew up in church, I would say, somewhat. My mom went to church when I was a young kid, and she would offer the opportunity for me to go with her, and I usually would turn it down. So my dad really didn't go to church like that. So I just noticed that a lot of times, I missed out of that opportunity of really going consistently. When I got to middle school and high school, I really barely ever went to church. And I really wasn't, it's like I had an idea about what my faith was about, or I'd say really what Christianity was about, just kind of the way we typically have that idea about it. But I didn't really have any specific connection to the faith or to what Jesus had really done for me. When I got into college, I started making music in the hip hop world. I really fell in love with hip hop in late high school and early college years, and I just completely went full out making hip hop music. And I was like, I'm gonna be, and which was funny because I really wish somebody had told me then, like, hey man, just cut it out, because when I first started rapping, it was terrible. It was like the worst, and I don't even know why any of my family or friends was like, yeah man, keep that going, that's really good. But they did though, and they kept encouraging me, and before you know it, I was writing and recording all kind of music and putting music out. In 2006, I started really getting serious, and I released my first completely independently produced album. It just a couple of shows around my local town. It wasn't anything big, but it some kind of a bug bit me when it came to entertainment and being some kind of a celebrity. That started growing really heavy in 2006 or so. Then in 2010, I moved to Valdosta, Georgia. And I wanted to be closer back to my family, and again, still really not into my faith, not into church or anything like that. My thoughts were pretty much night and day consumed with becoming this big celebrity, and a lot of things have happened in between there that had started opening doors in that world. And in 2010, I received my first booking email to a club in Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota. And I didn't even believe it was real. I was like, whatever. I was like, I just live in South Georgia. There's no way they're actually wanting to fly me up and pay for my hotel room and cover me to come up there and rap. But they did, and I did that. I went up there and I did my music. And before you know it, I was building like a little fan base, and I was getting all kind of booking requests. I went and did shows in Oklahoma City and Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas, several shows up and down in Minnesota. I was performing in places where I had seen some of my favorite groups perform, like the Masquerade in Atlanta. And the thing about it was, my music at the time, what it was I grew up listening to stuff like Eminem when I was in high school, and Insane Clown Posse, and anything that was kind of dark really sparked my interest. Anything dark like that really got me going, and I was like, it really influenced me as a kid to write that way. And so poetry or lyrics or whatever, it always came out with sort of a dark thing, and it only got worse and worse as I went. So when I did these shows and I started building this fan base, and I was flying and doing all this stuff, got to perform with like the people from D12, Eminem's group, Bubba Sparks, Nappy Roots, all kind of big people. And I thought, like, this is it. Like, this is everything I had wanted for a long time, over a decade. But I really started realizing the effect that I was having on the kids in my audience. I would look at them and I'd feel super guilty for some reason, but I couldn't really describe or define what it was that was making me feel guilty. I just felt bad. Young kids at my shows could recite every lyric standing in the front row, and I was just thinking, part of me was thinking, this is really cool. Like this is what success feels like and looks like. Like, look at what I've done, you know. And part of me though just felt like, but this just seems wrong, because the message I was putting out had gotten consistently darker and darker, and it's like I didn't even realize it. And the crazy thing about the music that I was making, the crazy thing about that whole part of my life is that I go back now and I listen to the stuff I recorded, and I'm like, that's not me. You know, it started off by me just playing a character, and the way I was influenced by hip hop. You know, hip hop is all about kind of being this bigger than life personality, and so I was trying to be this human cartoon character with my raps, and I was, you know, it's kind of like, what is the most offensive or shocking thing I can say for shock value's sake? And you know, that just got me more applause at the shows. You know, you shock people, you say something really ugly, it's like people just ate it up. You know, kids just ate that up, and that's just something I think about that goes along with all this. Well, I met the girl who would end up becoming my wife, and she was going to church, so I started going to church with her, and I really started feeling like, I guess I started feeling more guilty, because now, you know, I'm going to church, and what's that about? I'm over here saying one thing on stage, but yet on Sunday I'm, you know, sitting at church. So what happened was I started getting more into the Word, and I started really praying, and what is this really to me? Like, how do I take ownership of this faith? And what is Jesus really about? And is he really who he says he was? And something happened. I was praying with a friend of mine. He called me, and he felt like something was wrong and something was on my heart, and something put it on his heart to give me a call. And as I was praying, I was standing outside of my apartment, I still remember, and I just felt like the presence of God fall on me. And my wife will tell you, I was kind of crazy. It felt like insane. I was laughing. I was just like, I've never felt something like that before. Even back growing up in church, I never really felt that. And I just remember something changed in my heart that day. And so from then on, I stopped taking requests. I stopped doing these shows, but it was a battle, because it was like, man, this is money. You know, they pay for me to go stay for a week in another state that I never thought, as a South Georgia dude, that I would ever make it to. I didn't even think I would ever go there. And now they're, you know, doing that for me. But I just started realizing, I said, it's just not worth it. You know, so I started trying to make a change in my life. And really, God was just working on me. He was just changing me, and I didn't really know that's what was happening. Now it's 2017, and so many years have passed, so much time has passed. There were times where, even though I had felt God's presence in my life and felt him start changing me, I still didn't necessarily jump into church and to a church community. And I started kind of like, you know, turning down, or actually I started accepting, is what I'm trying to say, those booking requests occasionally. And I would occasionally go do a show, and I'd try to justify it to my wife. She became my wife. And to myself, I'd say, well, you know, I'll just go, and I'll have the right heart about it. I can change. I don't have to do the worst songs, you know. I can just go and do that. But so long story short, God did this work in my life through Jesus Christ. And now my wife inspired me. She had her master's degree in clinical psychology, so she was making me look bad, you know. So I said, I gotta do something, but I didn't know what I was gonna do. And I was like, I could go back to school, but you know, an ex-gangster rapper such as myself, I was like, what am I gonna go to school for? And she worked with kids at her job, and I started going with her and chaperoning and doing that kind of stuff and getting to work in a capacity with kids. And I was like, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. Like, this is perfect. And she had been telling me for years that, you know, she was like, I feel like working with kids would be a calling for you. And you know, at my shows, there were a lot of young people there, but it was just different. So now, here it is, 2017, I've gone to Valdosta State University, and I've got my degree, by the grace of God. I don't know how I got through that, but I did, and I got my degree in middle grades education. And starting next month, I will be, actually in 2 weeks, I will be teaching 7th grade social studies at Valdosta Middle School. And all of it is God, because He's taken me on such a journey, and from such a dark place. You always hear about people say that, oh man, well, you know, I came from a dark place. Well, I really, honestly, if I could tell you anything about me, it's that I'm changed. That He has taken me from this dark place where it was all about myself, and it was all about me craving fame and success, and he has delivered me into his kingdom and into his marvelous light, as the word says. And it's just been an incredible change, and now I'm an active member of my church, and I'm working harder to to just accept God's grace and just live for him. And it's just been the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I just wanted to let you know. I used to have the mind of a villain, egomaniac when I was up in the billing, on stage high trying to chase that feeling. Every single eye on me, center of attention. Yeah, I really thought that I was the business, so really I didn't think I was busy conducting business. I thought I'd be satisfied rocking shows in several cities. When them curtains closed, exposed that I was empty, and this, the vocation I chose to spend plenty of focus inventing them flows of just simply left me frustrated and hopelessly wishing to close the space filling this hole I found in me. I know it sounds silly to most of those listening, over your head like post-it notes on your ceiling. This ain't the pale homie you grown to know dearly, is it? Yes, it is, post the Holy Ghost visit. Yeah.